fluids. Okay. Now, what are the symptoms of hypothyroidism? Yes, in general.
It's in general low BMR.
Yes. Yes.
Metabolic activities reduce.
Yes. Then
Heart rate reduce.
heart rate reduce. So everywhere there is hypofunctioning. Okay. Everywhere we can see the hypofunctioning. Okay.
But blood cholesterol is raised, ma'am.
Blood cholesterol get raised. What was the reason?
Yes.
I told you yesterday. What is the reason of increased blood cholesterol level in hypothyroidism? Yes.
It is low density lipoproteins gets accumulated, and that's why LDL.
So their removal could not possible due to low thyroid hormones. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Due to concentration, whenever the levels of thyroid hormone become lower, their this removal is not possible from the system. Okay, so they get accumulated and the overall cholesterol level get raised in case of hypothyroidism. Okay, so we discussed yesterday the causes of hypothyroidism. Okay, then we are discussing about the Hashimoto's thyroiditis. No, we are discussing about Hashimoto's thyroiditis. It is an autoimmune condition that is common cause of hypothyroidism. In Hashimoto's thyroiditis, the body mounts an immune reaction against its own thyroid gland tissues, okay, leading to inflammation of the gland. That is, we call it as thyroiditis. The thyroid gland is an endocrinal gland and it secretes T3 and T4, okay. So these hormones, they act on the basic metabolic rate, protein synthesis, etc. Okay. Okay. So pathogenesis we discussed yesterday, but it was a little bit fast, I think. So I will repeat this pathogenesis of Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Here, this antigens, they get sensitized. Just wait, people are joining. Okay, so thyroid epithelium, there is T cell sensitization to thyroid antigen. This antigen, they get sensitized by the T cell. There is helper T cell. This helper T cell, that is CD4 plus there are three types of this particular process, that is pathogenesis. Okay, so everywhere that there is ultimate thing that happens is destruction of the thyroid cells, that is destruction of the thyrocytes. So first we discussed that is CD8 plus cytogenic T cell mediated cell death. Then second one is cytokine mediated cell death, that is CD4 plus T cell. CD4 plus T cells, they produce inflammatory cytokines and there will be they produce this interferon, gamma interferons, which causes activation of the macrophages, activated macrophages, and they causes they get attached to the this thyrocyte surface of the thyrocytes, and there is inflammatory reaction in which this thyrocytes, they got injured, okay, because of this interferon, gamma interferon. Okay, so these are the inflammatory cytokines. Gamma interferon, they are the inflammatory cytokines. They activates the macrophages, and after activation of macrophages, there is this get attached with this receptors on the surface of the epithelium of this thyrocytes, and there is thyrocytic injury. Okay, the CD8 plus cytotoxic T cell, they again this is sensitized cell, cytotoxic T cell, and whenever it come in contact with thyrocytes, there will be injury to the thyrocytes. And the third one is binding of antithyroid antibodies, followed by antibody dependent cell mediated cytotoxicity. So they get attached with the receptors, receptors to the receptors which are present on the surface of these thyrocytes, and there is ultimately injury to the thyrocytes. So this is the Hashimoto's thyroiditis. It causes reduction in the iodine levels. It causing gradual destruction of thyroid failure because of autoimmune destruction of thyroid gland. The age is in between 45 to 65. The age limit is in between 45 to 65, and women's they get more affected with this Hashimoto's thyroiditis than the males. That is, the percentage in the ratio is 10:1. 10, that is in the woman, and male 1. Okay, so much of there is possibility of this particular pathology in the women's, that is Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Okay, so here the immune system basically reacts against the variety of thyroid antigen. Our immune system, it reacts against the thyroid antigen, and there is progressive depletion of thyroid epithelial cells, which are gradually replaced by the mononuclear cells. Mononuclear cells, they get infiltrated, and later on there is fibrosis, fibrotic changes. Okay. So we discussed about hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, and then we will go towards the difference between hypo and hyperthyroidism. Okay, and then we will go forward with the diabetes. Okay, so hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism, symptoms and signs. There is difference between symptoms and signs. In hypothyroidism, there is extreme tiredness and lethargy. You can see extreme tiredness and lethargy in hypothyroidism, that is symptoms. Okay, lack of stamina and motivation. There is memory loss, there is brain fog, depression, mood swings, and hearing loss, that is deafness. It is more common with hypothyroidism. Okay, extreme tiredness is there. There is lethargic condition, and there is lack of stamina, motivation. There is weight gain. Hypothyroidism, it is related with weight gain. Signs: there are sparse eyebrows, especially the outer ends. There is decreased thickness. Swelling of face is there, especially it is around the eyes, that is periorbital edema is there. We have seen this in myxedema. Then changes at the back of the eye, that is at fundus oculi. Then wasting of tongue, listless, dull to look eyes, hoarseness. There is the change in the voice, rapid heart rate with weak force of contraction. The force of contraction, it becomes very weak. Okay. Then slow thinking, slow pulse rate. Okay. So this is hypothyroidism. Hyperthyroidism, there is protrusion of one or both eyeballs, exophthalmos is there, breathlessness, nervousness. The patient is always in hurried, very much anxious. Whether it is hypothyroidism, the patient is always tired, lethargic. Okay, basically this is the constitutional difference we can see. Here hyperthyroidism, the patient, it is very much hyper in every action. Okay, so nervousness is there, difficulty of sleeping, insomnia is there. And because of the more the patient wants more this active participation, and anxiousness and anxiety is more in the hyperthyroidism. But with this, there is fatigue also present. After that, the patient feels very much fatigue. Okay, itching is more in case of hyperthyroidism. Then this see the skin difference in skin texture in hypothyroidism there is dry skin, but here in case of hyperthyroidism there is moist skin, warm and moist skin. Signs: protruding eyes, hair loss is there, staring gaze is there, then goiter it is present with hyper and also in hypo also. The goiterous enlargement present in both of this. Then the fast heart rate, the signs in fast heart rate of hyperthyroidism, and trembling of hands. Okay, so these are the some differences with this uh, hyper and hypothyroidism. See, hypothyroidism, dry hair, puffy face, slow heart rate, weight gain is there, constipation, brittle nails, arthritis, cold intolerance is there, dry skin, then fatigue, memory loss, heavy menstrual periods, and muscle aches. They are given in hypothyroidism. Hyperthyroidism, hair loss is more. Here dry hairs, here hair loss. Then bulging, that is protruding eyes. Sweating is more. Then rapid heart rate, here the heart rate is slow. Then weight loss is there, here weight gain. Then regular gas, then soft nails, then sleeping difficulties, heat intolerance, here cold intolerance, then infertility is more we get this infertility in hyperthyroidism. Then irritability in hyperthyroidism, the patient is very much anxious, very much irritable. There is muscle weakness, then nervousness is there, scanty menstrual periods, here the periods are heavy in hypothyroidism. Okay, so these are all the differences of this or in between hypo and hyperthyroidism. So always remember the symptoms and the clinical pathology with this differentiation. You can this can write down this particular clinical pathological clinical conditions with this difference only. Okay, you can easily memorize this clinical symptoms, sign or symptoms of hypo and hyperthyroidism. Okay. Okay, so any query related to this topic up till now about thyroid gland? Here today we finished with our thyroid gland, the diseases of thyroid gland. Yes, there is any query?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes, yes. Yes?
ma'am, ectopic thyroid is also one of the cause of Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Then
Huh?
what is ectopic thyroid? Means what happens in that condition?
Which thyroid?
Ectopic thyroid.
Ectopic thyroid.
Yes, ma'am.
No, it is not there in your for your syllabus. Okay, don't go in detail of this particular conditions. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
So this ectopic thyroid vagare, that will all these things come in 4th year while studying medicine. Okay. But for pathology, you just remember this Graves' disease for hyperthyroidism, that is thyrotoxicosis. We discussed. Then with hypothyroidism, cretinism, myxedema, and Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Okay,
This thyroid
is
is
autoimmune
ma'am.
thyroiditis. This
Ma'am,
part
all these questions are asked for 5 marks, no?
5 marks. Yes.
Yeah.
Mainly
Yes,
for 5 marks, 2 marks. Okay. Up till now, it is
Okay,
not asked for 10 marks of this endocrinal conditions. Okay, but you prepare this well. Hyperthyroidism.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
pathogenesis is very much important here for your this clinical pathological sign symptoms, the markers, that is clinical pathological sign symptoms and pathogenesis. Okay, that is the part important for you. And the causes, that is etiopathogenesis and clinical pathological sign and symptoms.
Symptoms.
Okay, that part is
Okay.
important for you.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Then we will go towards our next topic, that is diabetes. No, we are going to discuss about diabetes.
Diabetes.
Okay.
It is mellitus.
Yes. One thing I think we discussed about Graves' disease, no? Thyroid hyperfunction.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. Whether I discussed toxic nodular goiter and this non-toxic nodular goiter, non-toxic goiter.
Both
are.
you are
Yes. That is non-toxic goiter, parenchymatous and colloidal type. These all things discussed, no?
Yes, ma'am. Toxic nodular goiter, non-toxic nodular goiter. Then there
Okay,
is
okay.
two types of non-toxic nodular goiter.
Yes. Okay. So I think we covered everything with this thyroid gland. Okay. The important
Yes.
diseases of thyroid gland. Then we will go towards our next topic.
Diabetes.
That is diabetes mellitus. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So diabetes mellitus. Okay. Diabetes mellitus. So yes. What is the cause of diabetes mellitus? Again, this topic is repeatedly discussed in our college. If you are attentive, then you may must be knowing about the basics of this diabetes mellitus type 1, type 2. Okay. So before going towards any pathology of this type 1 diabetes mellitus, we will discuss about the normal insulin physiology. That we will, this part I am going to take priorly, starting with this diabetes type 1. Okay. So I think all of you know about this normal insulin physiology. Then we will discuss about pathogenesis of type 1 diabetes mellitus. Okay. So the normal glucose homeostasis is regulated by 3 interrelated processes. That is, first is glucose production in the liver. This basic you should know properly. Then you can understand the terminologies like what is insulin resistance and all. Okay. So there are the hemostasis is regulated with the 3 processes. The first is glucose production in the liver. The second one is glucose uptake and utilization by the peripheral tissues, chiefly skeletal muscles. And third is action of insulin and counter-regulatory hormones, including glucagon and glucose. Okay. Okay. So these 3, they are interrelated processes, and the glucose homeostasis is regulated by these 3 factors. That is, first, production of glucose in the liver, then the glucose uptake and utilization by the peripheral tissues, and the action of insulin and the counter-regulatory hormone, that is glucagon. So this is the main part. Please don't scratch on the screen. Don't scratch on the screen. Who is scratching the screen? Because these lectures, they are uploaded on the YouTube, and those who are not present, they can easily read what are given in the slides. So please don't scratch the screen. Okay. So what exactly happened during fasting state? Okay. So during fasting state, there is low insulin and high glucagon levels, which facilitates hepatic gluconeogenesis. Before that, all of you know that insulin and glucagon have opposite regulatory effects on the glucose homeostasis. Okay, both are having opposite actions, insulin and glucagon. That you should know. So what happens exactly during fasting state? There is low insulin and high glucagon levels in fasting state. Okay. So which is your state now? Yes, students? Whether it is fasting or hyperglycemic?
Hyperglycemic.
Yes. So after taking food, you may feel sleepy, no?
Little bit.
Okay, okay, okay. Please be attentive. Don't sleep now. Okay.
Yes,
During
ma'am.
fasting state, there is low insulin and high glucagon levels facilitates hepatic gluconeogenesis and glycogenolysis. What is glycogenolysis? It is glycogen
Breakdown
Down of
breakdown.
glucose.
Yes. So these two things, they're facilitated by the low insulin level. Okay. So there is hepatic gluconeogenesis. So more new glucose get formed, hepatic gluconeogenesis and glycogen breakdown. So while decreasing glucose synthesis, the glucose synthesis is decreased. So thereby preventing hypoglycemia. So this hypoglycemia, it get prevented by high glucagon levels. Okay. So thus fasting plasma glucose levels are determined primarily by the hepatic glucose output. Okay. So synthesis of of glucose by the liver. Okay. So fasting plasma glucose levels, why we advised? They determined primarily by the hepatic glucose output. What is the output of glucose? Now, following meal, what happens? The insulin level rises and glucagon level falls in response to large glucose load. So just now you are having large glucose load in your serum, in your plasma. So the insulin level now are raised and glucagon levels, they are fall. So insulin promotes glucose uptake and utilization in the tissues. That is the main function of insulin. Okay. Now regulation of insulin release. What is by what way and what are the ways of insulin release? Okay. That is the main part. Now we are going to discuss. So the insulin gene is expressed in the beta cells of pancreatic islets. These insulin genes, they are expressed in the beta cells of Langerhans, that is the pancreatic islets. The most important stimulus that triggers insulin synthesis and releases the glucose itself. The glucose which is released in the serum, it is present in the plasma, it stimulates the insulin synthesis. So after taking, it will get stimulated after taking meal. After taking meal, this insulin get stimulus and there is release because of release of glucose, and this insulin get released by the beta cells. So rise in the blood glucose levels by glucose transporting protein, this glucose uptake into the pancreatic beta cells. Whenever there is rise of glucose in the blood, so there is protein present, that is glucose transporting protein. By this protein, the glucose will bring up to the pancreatic beta cells and this glucose get uptaken by the beta cells. Now metabolism of the glucose via glycolysis, it generates ATP. This energy molecules, they get generated and there is increase in cytoplasmic ATP ADP ratio. This cytoplasmic ATP and ADP ratio, it get increases, rises. Yes? Yes, anyone who want to ask any question? Yes? You can ask. Yes? Who raised the hand just now? Okay. So this, whenever there is this ratio increases, this inhibits the activity of ATP on the beta cell membrane. This ATP activity get inhibited by this increased cytoplasmic ATP and ADP ratio. And who generates this? This metabolism of glucose via glycolysis generates ATP. Okay. So this causes membrane depolarization. This, whenever this ATP activity or activity get inhibited, this on the beta cell membrane, this there is membrane depolarization. Okay. So this membrane depolarization, this resultant in the stimulation of or secretions of the insulin. This stimulates the secretions of the insulin. Whenever there is membrane depolarization occurs, it causes release of insulin from the stored hormone within the beta cell granules. So this insulin, it gets stored in the granules of the B cells, that is beta cells of Langerhans, and in that, from that, whenever there is membrane depolarization occurs, there is stimulation of release of insulin, and thus insulin get released into your blood, okay, to decrease the amount of glucose. What is the purpose of insulin? Yes?
Decrease the amount of glucose
Decrease the level
in
of glucose.
Yes.
glucose.
And it also promotes the glucose uptake and utilization in
Uptake,
the
yes,
tissues.
by the cells and tissues.
Yes. So regulate, what is, I am again going to repeat the regulation of insulin release. The insulin genes, it is expressed in the beta cells of pancreatic islets, and the most important stimulus is the glucose. Whenever the glucose comes in your plasma, in your blood, this insulin release get triggered. So how it get triggered? That is, whenever this glucose raised in the plasma or in the blood, this by glucose transporting protein, they get traveled up to the pancreatic B cells. So glucose is get uptaken by the B cells. Now the metabolism of glucose via glycolysis, it generates the ATP. So here this glucose get metabolized via the action of, that is the, you know what is glycolysis. So in that there is important energy molecules get released, that is ATP, that increases the cytoplasmic ATP and ADP ratio. Now this, whenever this ratio increases, whenever this ATP released in more amount with glycolysis, this inhibits the activity of ATP on the B cell membrane, which is present on the B cell membrane, causing membrane depolarization. And whenever this depolarization occurs, this causes release of insulin. It stimulates the secretion of insulin from the stored hormone, which is present in the beta cell granules. Okay. So this is about all about the normal synthesis of glucose. Okay. Now we will go towards now our pathology part. Okay. This is normal physiology. All of you know. Understanding the normal physiology of insulin secretions.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now we will go towards what abnormally, what is the abnormality, where is the abnormality, and first we are going to discuss about the diabetes type 1. Okay, type 1 diabetes. Now the causes of type 1 diabetes. There is hereditary predisposition is more important for this type 1 diabetes mellitus. It may get presented as autoimmune disease, destruction of the beta cells by itself. Autoantibodies, they get releases, and due to there is destruction of beta cells, so they could not secrete the insulin. Okay, then after, it may triggered after viral infections, viruses and the various bacterial infections also. Then autoimmune destruction of the beta cell, then damage or removal of the pancreas may initiates this diabetes type 1. Then unfavorable environmental factors, drugs, chemicals, toxins, some endocrine diseases, they may get triggered this type 1 diabetes mellitus. So these are the causes of type 1 diabetes. Okay. Here the hereditary plays a very important role, and the autoimmune condition, autoimmune destruction of the beta cell. Okay. So here we can see the healthy physiology of insulin secretions, and here there is disease, that is diabetic. Okay. So what happens in healthy? This pancreas produces insulin. So here are glucose molecules. We can see these insulin molecules, they get attached with this glucose, and this insulin moves glucose to the cell. It is the normal process which happens in the healthy individuals. And what happens in the diabetic individuals? This immune cells destroys the beta cells in the pancreas. Okay, before this regulation, these beta cells, they get destroyed by the immune system. Our own immune system destroys that beta cells. So pancreas cannot produce insulin. So these glucose molecules, they remain into the blood, and they could not removed from blood to the tissues, various tissues for storage. Okay. So this is the basic pathology of diabetes type 1. But we are going to discuss between this thing, what exactly happens with this, how this destruction occurs, that comes under the pathogenesis of the disease. That part we are going to discuss. Okay. So pathophysiology of type 1 diabetes mellitus. Here in this plate, it is discussed that there is autoimmune destruction. Pathologically, the pancreatic islets infiltrated with the lymphocytes. In this process is termed as insulitis. After all beta cells are destroyed, the inflammatory process, it stops, and the islets become atrophic. The autoimmune destruction of pancreatic B cells leads to a deficiency of insulin secretions. Okay, and this loss of insulin secretions, that leads to metabolic derangement associated with insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, IDDM. This type 1 diabetes, it is called as IDDM, insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, because that person lifetime is depending upon the insulin which is given from outside. Okay. So I'm going to close this meeting just in few minutes. I'm again going to call this meeting. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay. So please join quickly. Okay. Within few minutes, I'm going to send the photograph now. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
So
ma'am.
please
Okay.
try to join early.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes.